Hello there and welcome to the Radiant Goddess Show where wisdom and empowerment meet. I'm your host, Jasmine Srinika Crystal Singer, and your co-host,
Julie McAfee. Thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to have this next guest. And Jasmine, what is our title for today's show?
So indeed, I was so excited to have the magnetic mermaid Hannah Fraser on the show today. And our title of the show today for you Radiant Goddesses is Heal the Ocean, Heal Thyself. And there really is no better special guest to come on the show today and really tell us how our connection with nature is integral to our deepest healing of the soul and also to our connection with all creatures on our beautiful blue planet. Julie, tell us a little bit more about our honored guest, Hannah Fraser.
Absolutely. Hannah Fraser is a passionate, driven adventurer with the ability to emanate a gentle feminine power in the most challenging conditions. She is credited with inventing a whole new vocation, becoming the first freelance mermaid, working as an ocean environmentalist, underwater performance artist, and model. Fascinated by mermaids since she was a child, she created her first tale when she was only 9 years old. Hannah has trained in yoga her whole life, traveling to India to learn ancient techniques that have helped her gain skills in breath holding, flexibility, and focus. She now creates exquisite mermaid tales and travels the world performing underwater as a mermaid for film, television, advertising, events, and environmental activism. Hannah uses her unique link to the ocean to inspire and educate people in the importance of marine life. She has been a vegetarian since birth and is a powerful advocate for animal rights and strong role model for self-empowerment for young women across the globe who see that she has made her dreams a reality no matter how unlikely the odds. She has been working on creating a groundbreaking imagery showing the connection between human and sea creatures for over a decade. Swimming fearlessly with tiger sharks, great whites, whales, dolphins, manta rays, whale sharks, seals, and many more animals in the open ocean to bring attention to the issues that face our seas. She says that being in the ocean is where I feel the most free and expressive. A mermaid's gift is to inspire people to rekindle their relationship to nature and a way to communicate the environmental issues that face us at this point. Hannah is currently working with Emmy Award-winning cinematography Sean Heinrich to create mind-blowing imagery that captures her unique connection to marine life in an upcoming documentary called Tears of a Mermaid. Welcome, Hannah. Thank you so much for being here. And Hannah's website is www.hannahmermaid.com. Thank you so much for being with us today on the Radiant Goddess Show to share your story about becoming a real mermaid. Can you please share a little bit more about, just being, dreaming about it as a child and then creating the tale and then actually stepping into this icon of a real mermaid?
Thank you, Julie and Jasmine, for such a wonderful intro. Got mermaid blush going on.
Well, if we had tails, we would be flapping them with joy.
So it has been an amazing journey, and where I've ended up is certainly not what I imagined was even possible. Like, it has just been such an incredible expansion of dreams taking true form. So, I was that kid who was always at the bottom of the pool playing with finding coins and making my own tea parties and how long can you hold your breath and like pretending I was a mermaid. I was never like a particularly good swimmer, like look at my breaststroke or, look at my backstroke or my butterfly. I was just under there at the bottom of the pool hanging out. And I was obsessed by mermaids as a kid, as most little girls are. And I remember going to the library back before when there was an interwebs and looking up, you know, where can I find a mermaid? How can I hang out with them? Like, where does one go to meet these wonderful creatures? And I was so frustrated that no one could seem to tell me, like, where do you hang out? And when I was drawing mermaids incessantly as a kid, and it was kind of like my way of making new friends, really. I would like draw them a pretty mermaid and give them a gift of this drawing. Even when I started drawing and you know, I had stick figures, they had mermaid tails. And then when I was 9 years old, I saw the film Splash with Daryl Hannah, and I thought, oh God, that's fate. And she was a vegetarian like me. And I lost my little mermaid brain, and I just put her picture everywhere. And that like 5 minutes of underwater footage that she created for that film completely changed my life. I thought, wow, here's someone who's actually made it real. And I said to my mom, I've got to make a mermaid tail. So she was a little crafty and really artistic. So we ended up using some plastic tablecloth material and pillow stuffing down the end and sewing it all together. And I spent hours putting these little painted scales all over it, making it perfect. And then I jumped in the pool with it. I don't know if my mom expected that I was going to just actually use this thing, because it was highly non-functional. It was basically like tying your 9-year-old's feet together with some pillow stuffing and jumping in the pool. It was a wonderful sink or swim moment. And, you know, I learned how to swim really well because of that. And for about 6 months, that thing held up as I swam around in this pool, and all my friends would come over and they'd kind of laugh at me, and then they'd all be like, oh, can I try? And yeah, it wasn't until like much later on, when I was 21, I actually moved to the ocean. So I most of my childhood. Say again?
Where did you grow up?
I spent the first 6 years of my life in LA, and then I moved to Australia. And I spent a lot of time going back and forth to India throughout my childhood as well, because my mother was really into taking us to a meditation ashram there. But yeah, I didn't live near the ocean anywhere. So this kind of passion that I had for it was all, I expressed it through artwork, creating these beautiful magical scenes of the underwater world.
Wow, that's amazing. So in Australia, did you swim in the Great Barrier Reef when you were young, or experience any of that?
No, we lived about 3 hours from the ocean, and, you know, I'd go to the local pool a bit. We'd, you know, visit the ocean once in a blue moon, because it was quite a long way away. And I was always good at swimming, but I didn't have that lifestyle. I didn't get to grow up near the ocean and be in the beach every day. Yeah, I'd finished high school and done some university, and then I was like, oh my God, I've got to find my tribe. I've got to find where I'm meant to be. And then I moved to Byron Bay, which is like the most easterly point of Australia. And it's stunning. It's like rolling green hills, rainforest meets ocean, with whales and dolphins jumping, and a cool alternative community, beautiful artists and parties in the forest. And I was like, oh yeah, this is where I'm meant to be, is the Rainbow region. And that's where I really got to live with the ocean and get super comfortable, like playing in the waves. And I actually married a surfer, so that helped. We got to travel around to all these gorgeous locales like Tahiti and Hawaii and Fiji. So
wow, amazing.
Living the mermaid dream, when did it start to really become your life's work? So this incredible exploration and really being taken by the opportunities that came your way. When did you start to really cultivate this deeper relationship to wanting to share the beauty that is the ocean with the world, through your art, through your modeling, and then your journey on to being an activist? You have millions of views on your YouTube channel, the upcoming documentary. Tell us a little bit about this evolution, because people see what you've achieved now, but they don't really know the struggles. So if you don't mind sharing a bit of your struggle to success story with us, I think it would be so inspiring to all of those radiant goddesses who believe it's possible, but you know, they just want to know, what does it take to really live your dream?
Totally. Total and utter dedication is the short answer. So when I was living in Byron Bay and I was having all this wonderful ocean time, and I started doing a little bit of modeling and a little bit of costume design, a little bit of, you know, just getting out there and performing and stuff, but nothing had really coalesced as far as the mermaid thing. And I got invited to go to a casting for an underwater shoot. And I'd never done anything like that before. And I didn't particularly think I had any extra special skill, but I went, I was like, I like the ocean. I've got a fantasy about mermaids, you know? Anyway, so I got there and there was just like hundreds of gorgeous, super tall, beautiful models. And I thought there's not a chance that I'm going to get this job. And one by one, they went in the water. They held their breath for like 3 seconds and looked like dying blowfish, like,
not really the enchanting mermaid look that we're going for, right?
So yeah, it was like as soon as I got in there and I was just completely natural and totally happy, and I was just like, wow, this is easy. And they said, you've got the job. And I did it, and the shots came back and the pictures looked exactly like the artwork that I'd been creating and drawing for.
Wow.
I'm getting chills. It's so of your heart became reality, Hannah.
Just like completely, that's an example of manifestation, is like thoughts or things, and then drawing it, and then creating it, putting in these different forms in the third realm, and then it coming into fruition. So nice share. Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, if I just had a mermaid tail in those pictures, they would be perfect. And I thought, well, I made one when I was a kid. I could always try that again, and I'd probably be way better at it. So I created my first mermaid tail, and it was kind of a real botchy job. You know, I had these flippers, and I kind of cut them to shape, and I stuck boomerangs in there and coat hangers and all sorts of stuff. I was basically just like trying to create a monofin out of found objects, and duct taped it all together and stuck it inside this sleeve wetsuit that I'd created. And it actually was pretty functional. And I got an amateur underwater film guy to come and film me, and you know, I was hooked from the second that I saw myself doing that. I was like, that's what I meant to do. Like, it looked so natural. I looked like I was born there. And then I was like, okay, I need a better tail. And he's like, well, if you got some polyethylene board and you bolted those flippers onto it and you put some silicone, you know, I was like, oh, thanks.
Oh, wow.
The mentor on the tech side helped a lot. So I went into some research and development and actually learned how to create monofins, because at that point I had no idea that there was actually people who were creating these and selling them. It just wasn't a thing. And so I sort of did a lot of, it was really challenging. Like, I wasn't a construction person, but I learned so much, and I was reaching out online to anyone who'd ever done a mermaid film and asking them advice. And most of them didn't want to give away their secrets, or if they did, they were like, oh, well, here's how I made my $20,000 tail for a film with like 20 people team with, you know, molds and all this stuff that was well beyond my capacity. So I just kind of had to make it up as I went along. And yeah, it just got better and better. And then I was like swimming around being a mermaid and having these encounters with animals, and people got interested, and photographers wanted to work with me. And then.
So Hannah, how many years ago was that first experience where you were hired as the underwater story you shared with us? How many years ago was that?
That was about 14 years ago that I did the underwater shoot, and by 13 years ago, I was creating tails and swimming underwater.
And then, so you've swam in most of the world's oceans, and you, prior to this, you were a model. And how did it empower you as a radiant goddess to go from going to these modeling jobs to stepping into this place of empowerment to where you're like, this is it?
What was really cool was that I was creating my vision rather than showing up to a casting and trying to fit myself into this box of expectation of how I should look and what I should dress and how I should act. I was then in charge of my own creation and my own joy. And that was just exhilarating for me. And so what really struck me, though, was I got to a point where I'd been to all these beautiful places. I was swimming in these gorgeous locales. People were even starting to pay me to do this thing that I loved so much. And then I started to see degradation and learn about animals being killed, and, you know, being this kind of icon mermaid, people would tell me about their experiences and their knowledge. And it was utterly heartbreaking. I remember the first time someone showed me a video of dolphins being killed in Taiji Bay in Japan, and just sobbing and just going, how could humans do that? I don't understand. Like, this is ridiculous, and I got to do something. I mean, if I'm not going to do something, I can't expect anyone else to do something, because here I am being like an ocean icon. So that was really a shifting point. And prior to going to Taiji to address that issue, I went with my then husband, Dave Rostovich, to swim with whales in Tonga.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
That was just mind-blowing.
What kind of whales were they, Hannah?
They were humpback whales. And imagine being out in endless blue, where it just goes down into infinity, and you can see the sun rays just disappearing into this depth. And all of a sudden hearing these sort of like calls, these really deep resonant calls, and seeing a whale way, way down below coming up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, you know, then I was like, oh crap, like it's not going to see me.
It's really big.
It's really big. I feel like a tiny little ant, and I'm gonna like be hit by the tail or fall into its blowhole, or, you know, it's gonna eat me and it doesn't even realize I'm tiny. And it was just such a mind-blowing experience of, you know, as humans, we're kind of like in charge of our world. We're kind of the big animals mostly. Suddenly realizing I was nothing more than a tiny little ant in this magnificent giant behemoth's world. But what was incredible to me is, as it came up, I could see it was coming up to see me. It looked at me, and it was very conscious of its movements, that it didn't upset me, and it didn't, you know, come too close or too far away. It was utterly sentient and conscious. And that was just like, whoa.
Wow.
If only I could be so sentient and conscious in my world of all the tiny little animals that inhabit my world. It really was a total perspective shift. And then it had a little baby with it as well. And so this baby was actually really mesmerized by me, and just kept coming up really close and checking me out and kind of waving its flipper at me. And then the mother and the baby started calling to each other, and the song was mind-blowing.
Wow.
The mother's voice was like standing in front of a rumbling speaker stack, like just so strong that it shook every bone in my body. And the baby's call was like a trumpet straight to the ear, really loud. And so I was like having a sound bath in whale song.
Wow.
The effect was so profound. I got out of that experience, and my partner at the time and I were just crying, because it was like our DNA had been shifted, and a message had been given to us of empowerment to, like, we both were like, we would put our lives on the line for these animals. Even though they can't like communicate to us in words, we felt like something had been transmuted and translated to us. So from then on, we were able to really like move forward into being ocean activists with a true connection to those animals. And right after that, we went to the Taiji Bay in Japan, where they were killing pilot whales and dolphins. And utterly heartbreaking experience to be out there. There was 6 of us. The Japanese fishermen came and started pushing their boat propellers up against our legs and hitting us with sticks and bruising our legs and yelling at us in Japanese. We had come prepared to be arrested. We knew it would only take 15 minutes from the cops to be called to actually get to that location. We had our passports stuck into our wetsuits and waterproof cases. We knew we could be held for 23 days without questioning or even being charged with anything. It was a really scary situation. I'd never kind of put myself on the line in that kind of a way before, especially in a foreign country where I didn't speak the language and didn't really know the laws. But when we were out there and we were holding hands and creating a circle, and honestly, there was nothing else we could do except bear witness, because they had them locked off. There was no way we could open gates and like let them out or anything. So all we could do was film what happened and hope that we could awaken the rest of the world to this atrocious act. And we had, we decided we'd only stay for like 5 to 10 minutes so that we hopefully wouldn't get arrested. We were out there for 25 minutes and we just couldn't seem to leave. It was really important to us to just really face off these fishermen. And even when we had a commitment to being like Gandhi in that scenario, where even when they were hitting us, we were just like, thank you, and we could
so
see.
When was that? What year was that?
That would have been around 2008 or 9.
And so have things changed quite a bit that you've noticed because of that?
So that was,
and sharing that with the world, has it changed some?
Yeah, that was put into the film The Cove, which won the Academy Award for documentary in 2010, and millions of people around the world saw it and became aware of the issue. So a lot more pressure was put on, and it helped to get dolphin meat taken off the government-funded school lunch programs and off the supermarket shelves where it was being sold. However, they still continue to do this, and the real reason that this drive happens, where they kill all of these dolphins, is not so much the meat that they're selling locally, but it's the captive dolphins that they're selling to organizations such as SeaWorld and other places around the world, especially like the Asian countries are really fond of them, and Russia and places like that. So that's
Hannah, when people, watch this footage, when they, see your activism, what can anyone watching this video do if they really want to continue to, in a sense, support your work, and if they really want all of us together to stop what's going on? What do you suggest people who are, really feeling passionate about stopping the slaughter? What would you suggest they do?
Really basic things. Don't ever attend a place like SeaWorld, anywhere that has dolphins and whales or in captivity. Don't support those aquariums, actively campaign against them, and join all the petitions, all of the government pressure to end those kind of institutions, because that's what's fueling the killing that's happening. Also really basic stuff, like I went to these gorgeous places around the world and there were pristine beaches, and then a year or two later I'd come back and they were covered in rubbish, or there was gorgeous reefs that I went to that a year or two later they're just like bleached coral. They're doing like bomb fishing, where they set off little bombs under the water and just kill everything so the fish rise to the surface. So, and long line fishing, all of these practices that we're doing that are incredibly harmful for our environment. And some really frightening statistics. We have eaten over 90% of the world's large fish in the last 50 years.
Wow, amazing.
We about 70% of the Earth's oxygen comes from the ocean. So if that is not a functioning system, we don't have air to breathe. Also, all life, it's 70% of all life on this planet exists in the ocean. So that's kind of like our huge melting pot of life itself. It's literally the mother, the lifeblood that flows through this planet. And we're kind of like these little land creatures that inhabit a small piece of it. So the fact that us as this species has completely raped the ocean is literally, they're giving us about 20 years. If we continue at the rate that we're going now, in 20 years the ocean will be completely dead, and so will life on this planet. So
already the South Pacific is very, very still, and everything that we are going through now with with Fukushima and the radiation and the pollution to our oceans in that way is really, really harrowing. So all the work you're doing, Hannah, is so important with your celebrity and with your platform to help inform people who don't live close to the ocean, for whom it is not a daily reality. Those people who would never even think of the ocean, why it's so essential. It's not just for people who live on the coast. It's not just the rising sea levels that are causing all sorts of displacement, all sorts of problems. It's not even just the oil spills like here in the Gulf of Florida. It's just horrible. We don't even know the extent truly of the pollution and of the damage and the destruction, but at least we're close to it. Someone in the Midwest, you know, or gosh,
that's the thing. There's so many
nowhere doesn't even think about the ocean. So yeah, how are you going to bring the ocean or oceanic awareness? Really, this kind of the title of our show today, Heal the Ocean, Heal Thyself. How do you envision bringing this message at on an even broader scale to a greater number of people, Hannah?
Yeah, so I really feel what you were saying. There's so many people around the world that actually have never even been to the ocean, haven't even seen it, don't experience, and even those ones that see it all the time, it's kind of like this flat blue thing that they don't go under and see what's actually happening under there. So it's how do you inspire people? Because what we've been getting over the last like 20 years is all these messages of dire, horrible things happening to something we're kind of really disconnected to. It's like, save the whales, or the ocean's dying, and all this stuff. It's kind of heavy, and there's so much intensity happening on this planet right now that it's hard not to get overly affected by that and just feel defeated and just think, why bother? Like, there's so much. So my whole mission has been coming from a place where I experienced a lot of that heaviness and a lot of challenge, and like really showed up to a lot of actions and went to international whaling conventions and protested and worked with Greenpeace and worked with Sea Shepherd and all these amazing organizations. But I've come to a place where I need to create images that are absolutely beautiful and inspiring and radiant and just like capture people's imaginations. And rather than guilting them into action, I want to like inspire their action so that they feel good about life and they feel good about themselves and they're doing something to help the world.
There's such deep healing possible in art. There's such deep healing possible in inspiring people. When we are inspired, we're like the dolphins. We're really undulating on this frequency of joy, and that power of joy, it can move mountains. It can connect us all across the globe. It can unite us in a common vision. So I think it's so beautiful, Hannah, when you say that through your images, through your art, and through this joy and the wonder that you're able to express through all that you do, you're really uplifting people to come into a deeper sense of sensitivity and connection with themselves, with the ocean, and with everyone around the globe. It's just beautiful.
Very important.
Thank
and so,
you.
Hannah, if some people on the air watching the show today wanted to contribute to you, I mean, I would like to send you some funds just to support your vision.
Thank you.
And my daughter would love, to be like a contributor to your work, because we watch your videos and it's just, I always get so emotional on these shows. But it's so inspiring. I mean, it's so inspiring. And do you have a foundation or a fund or anything like that where people can contribute? And also, before the show's over, I'd like to learn more about the new documentary that's coming up.
Tears of a Mermaid, yes.
Tears of a Mermaid, and talk about when that will launch, when you'll be sharing that with the world, so we can keep our eyes open for that too.
Sure. I mean, there's so many wonderful organizations around the world that are doing some incredible work. So like Wild Aid and Sea Shepherd and Greenpeace and Save Japan Dolphins. So any one of those foundations are really great to help support what's really needed on the ground. I don't personally have my own foundation that you can do a tax write-off thing. If you want to support me, I am gratefully receive that, through my website. You can contact me anytime, and I am continually, basically paying for myself to go around the world and create these art forms. So if you want to become involved in any way in that, just contact me direct, and I'd love to incorporate funds or skills or just people that want to be part of it in some way. I love to expand my team.
Beautiful.
And we'll be sure to have
we'll be contacting you, Hannah.
her videos. We'll have her website, her videos, and how to contact her on a few of the newsletters. And also
we'll do some YouTube cards where we can, link to some of your favorite videos at the moment.
Yeah, and also go to our Radiant Goddess Gathering group and on Facebook, and Radiant Goddess Show Facebook group, and you'll always be able to connect with all the radiant goddesses that we interview, and we'll have all of her information on there as well.
Perfect.
So, and that her website, www.hannahfraser.com. And then let's hear about your new documentary.
Oh yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, so it's called Tears of a Mermaid, and it basically chronicles all of the different journeys that I've been doing over the last 5 years or so, swimming with great white sharks, tiger sharks in the Bahamas, manta rays in Hawaii, and Isla Mujeres in Mexico, and shows you all the behind the scenes activity, that what it takes to actually get to this point where you see a beautiful image of a woman swimming with a tiger shark tickling its nose and it looks really effortless and easy. But I got to tell you this, the amount of challenge that my team and I go through to get these images is incredible.
Yeah, so this is the do not try this at home portion disclaimer of the show.
Exactly.
Kind of really tell us from building up, you know, in terms of being able to hold your breath underwater for these shots. I mean, it can be extremely dangerous. So tell us a little bit about, you know, the real risks involved with free diving, with working with wild animals in this way, how your team needs to work in inclement weather conditions. Kind of give us a really realistic look into what it takes to make art at this level.
Absolutely, yeah. So breath hold is really challenging. It's kind of a lot to do with your mind, because the body can't exist without oxygen for longer than it takes for us to be absolutely freaking out and saying, I need air now, and you know, start having convulsions and stuff. So I do a lot of yoga, and a lot of breath work, and a lot of mind training to be able to get to a point where I can relax enough and go into a semi-trance state, so that I can function under there for long enough to actually get these shots.
And let's talk about the actual amount of time. How many minutes are you able to do underwater before you have to surface, or do you have people passing oxygen to you, or how do you work these shoots?
So I'm at around 2 minutes. If I'm working in really dangerous conditions, like with sharks and stuff, and I need to always give myself a little bit of time in case anything goes wrong, I'll work around 1 minute and 1.5 minutes. Also, things will that impact that will be like, if it's a big scary animal and I feel at all any kind of fear or trepidation, or having to really focus, you know, it reduces the breath hold time. If it's cold, it reduces the breath hold time. If I'm moving around a lot, it reduces the breath hold time. If there's a hard current that I'm working against, then again, there's so many different challenges. Excuse me. And so I can static breath hold for about 3 minutes. 2 minutes is like my maximum when I'm like moving around, you know, working with a huge mermaid tail that weighs a lot of weight. So it really depends on the situation and needing to be smart about it. I've personally never really gotten into any bad situations with a lot of people will have shallow water blackouts, where all of a sudden they're just like gone, and they will pass out underwater and, you know, easily die if someone's not there to resuscitate them and bring them to the surface. I'm also working with, I'll either free dive if the animal that I'm working with is moving fast and near the surface, or with sharks, like tiger sharks and so forth, the best place to be is on the bottom of the ocean, and not swimming on top where they
feed. They like to feed there.
Yeah, they look up and they say, oh, look at that splashy silhouette thing. That looks like maybe a yummy
seal, something yummy, whatever they eat.
So if you're down on the bottom of the ocean, you can interact with them. They can see you. It's really important that you have eye contact with them. They respond to that. And you have like a solid ground underneath you, so that's one aspect of this three-dimensional world when you're working in a weightless environment that you've got covered. And so, but they're really incredible, beautiful animals, and humans are not on the menu. And in fact, some of the shark wranglers that I've worked with have even put human blood into the ocean with sharks and seen how they react, and they're not interested. It's not tasty to them. They even tried it with cow blood. Nope, not interested. Put fish blood in there, they go crazy.
So what do these sharks eat, basically? What do they...
Different sharks eat different types of animals, but you know, the bigger ones will eat turtles, seals.
So they do eat seals. I did read that somewhere. Okay.
Yep. Great white sharks eat elephant seals, and so that's something to be really cautious of as a mermaid. They look like a little anorexic elephant seal, but
Seal.
you never know.
They're like, we don't want that one. She's not juicy enough.
Yeah.
So Tears of a Mermaid. I want to hear more about that and how we can see that.
When is
How
it
far
coming
along
out?
are
Yeah.
you, and where are you filming? And
Yeah, so we've shot in Hawaii, Mexico, Bahamas, Australia, Los Angeles, like so many beautiful, incredible places around the world, so that we could get footage with all of these different animals and give them a voice and a representation. And the real theme of this is humans being the voice for the ocean. And so some really incredible experiences we had was working with manta rays in Hawaii. We did this thing called Manta's Last Dance, and it was a short artivism film. And it was shown at the Convention for International Trade on Endangered Species, which meets only once every 3 years to decide which animals will be slated for protection. And so people campaign to try and get certain animals to be protected and prove that they're worthy. And we were like, well, manta rays really need to be protected because they're getting completely annihilated just for their little gills and put into like Asian soup and stuff like that. And the rest is just discarded and wasted. And these incredible, beautiful, harmless animals are being annihilated around the world. So we created this film and we showed it to the convention delegates. And everyone said, oh, you can't get manta rays on. Everyone thinks they're dangerous, like the stingrays that killed Steve Irwin, or they're just not really known about. They're not cute, like dolphins, all this kind of stuff. 80% of the delegates stood up in favor of supporting manta rays at the convention, which was more than any other animal, land or sea, for that convention.
Well done. That artivism film, that really turned the tide. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And so that's like where art can really change solid laws. It's not just like, oh, that was pretty and inspiring, but we helped to change a law that put mantas on a protected list, and now laws are being implemented around the world to make sure that they continue.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, it's like a really powerful story of how we've gone through these different adventures, and when we package them in such a way that we can give it to the world, which will change how we view these animals, how we protect them, and what we as a community can do to really shift our whole way of being on this planet.
Well, we have an amazing film festival here in Telluride, Colorado. And will your film be ready by the time?
When is that?
It's too soon. It's actually in September. It's next month. But next year, is it going to be like an hour long, or can you share with us a little bit about?
Yeah, we're in still production and post-production right now. We need to like get all the editing and everything done. We've basically like shot everything, and it's
awesome.
Vlogging. We're creating it all now. So probably next year would be the release.
Great.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm going to message you so we can get it in Telluride for one of the film festivals.
That'd be awesome.
There's one in the spring and there's one in the fall. So
I have to come and visit. That sounds great.
Yes.
There is a website of tearsofmermaid.com, so you can kind of keep track of when it comes out.
Fantastic.
You could come to the mountains and you could speak at our film festival. I would love
to do that.
We'll see.
And teach everyone about the ocean, those people who are landlocked in the mountains.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, our time is up today, and we're just so touched and honored, Hannah, to have you on our show. Just the whole opening our eyes to the water and the feminine, and I've heard stories about manta rays actually being a deep connection to the feminine, so thanks for sharing that on a deeper level in the world. And again, to all of our listeners, we'll be sure to put Hannah's website and some of her videos. And Hannah, again, thank you for doing your work in the world. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to speak to both of you.
You're such a living embodiment of how healing the ocean is healing oneself. You're just radiating that love and joy. And through your artivism, may you touch the hearts of millions, and may we save our beautiful oceans. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, gorgeous radiant goddesses, for tuning in. Remember to radiate your light from the heart for all to see. And tune in next time for the Radiant Goddess Show, where wisdom and empowerment meet. Bye for now.